Okay, so let me share the screen for you and we can start from there. And my screen is visible. Okay, today I'm planning to make use of RStudio. So I've installed your RStudio. I hope you have done it also. And in RStudio, again, similar to your our application, when we started our application, we had got a console. So we have a console here. You can see this is my console. If this is not visible properly, let me zoom this. Okay, so this looks, I think, better. So when I start with RStudio, I get this interface here. You have two tabs here, the console tab. There's a console for the R program. You can see this, the version written out here, which is my root directory. Okay, this can load it. And we have this terminal window. The terminal window is similar to your command window. Okay, so in some cases, if I have to run the executive files and all, once it is compiled, we can do it here. Secondly, I have this two panes here. One indicates this is my environment. So all my variables which I create can get highlighted here, including the global variables. Okay, then we have this history out here. If there is some history of previous commands which has been executed, all this will come here. So this is what I have done before. So this is getting displayed here. The active connections and all, we have not done any connections here. And you can also go for the tutorial. Now, as soon as you install RStudio for the first time, the first thing it will ask you is if you would like to go to the tutorial as well. So you can start the tutorial, you can check it out on your own. Then this is my second pan where we get some help. Then we have some viewer here. Then all the packages can be highlighted. So the R programming, the RStudio has all this particular packages, and you'll find these are some of the user packages, but there's another section down below here. Yeah, this is your system library. So we have this base library already ticked, you can see. So you need not import these libraries, the ones which are already ticked. Okay, so data set, then graphics, GR device, that is the R graphics device has been already loaded for your, which supports the colors and the fonts. Okay, so like this, you do have some system libraries which are pre-installed. Okay, you need not import that to make use of the various functions. And the main one is the base library, that is your R base package library. Okay, that is already installed. So whenever you need some particular library, okay, because there are many functions which are written inside the library that can be used only if I import that library. Okay, that can be done from your. Okay, so we will see that also whenever we require something. Right now, in the beginning, we are not going to require anything. We are happy with the base library and the basic libraries which are ticked, you can see. You can also install some packages if you want from your. So here we have the install R package option, and we can also update it. Okay, so if suppose your RStudio is of an older version, you can update Studio itself, or if you want to update packages, you can do that from here as well. Okay, you need to have your internet connection on. That's the only option which is required for this. Okay, coming to our programming, last time, as I said, we did data frame, and that was the last topic. Okay, and as I said, data frames are nothing but your tabular data objects. Okay, and unlike your matrix, matrix in data frames, each column can contain a different modes of data. Now the first column can be a numeric, which while the second column can be a character, or the third one can be a logical one. Okay, and it is a list of vectors of equal length, right? Whereas data frames are created using the function. If you remember, we had done data dot frame. Okay, that is the function which we used, and we created 3 or 4, I think 4 columns. Okay, so I'll quickly create a data frame for you and just show it to you here, and then from there we'll move ahead, and we'll start with our variables. If I have to create variables, how do I do that? So I'll be using the console here. Won't be creating a script file. So let us do it here itself. So here we go. Let us create a data frame called, say, B underscore data frame. So I'll say D frame. Okay, that's my name which I have given for my data frame. Okay, then I'll use this equal to symbol, which is your left arrow. Okay, it is also known as left word. Okay, you'll come to that when we see the right word else as well. So usually I call it your left arrow. Okay, it's also known as left word assignment operator. Okay, then comes your function. So I have to use data. Now, one advantage of using your RStudio is the help which we get. You can see this as soon as I typed data, I got a pop-up which is displaying me the information regarding the health object here. Okay, so what are the things can be used? So I can use data dot, you can see this frame here. Okay, and it gives you the information regarding this function as well. So the function data dot frame creates data frames. Okay, tightly coupled collection of variables which share many of the properties of matrices and of list. Okay, used as the fundamental data structure by most of the R modeling software. Okay, that is what the definition is given in this case. So let me quickly create a data frame. So I'll select this one. The round bracket appears. I'll press enter here. Sorry, guys. The underscore data frame. That was how I did. It got created. A blank one got created. Let me start. And inside this, I had created some columns. First was I think gender, and using the combination function C, I created some genders. So I had M, then say F, again M. Let us put M here again. Okay, then a comma. The next was HEIT, height. Again, I have C into round bracket. This time I'll put some numbers. So 152, 155, 165. Okay, so 3 values again, comma, and let me put weight. Weight equal to C into bracket. The weights, let me put somewhere around 80, comma, 75, comma, 85. Okay, some random values here. And the last one was age. Is age equal to C into bracket, some numeric value. So let us put 35, 30, 36. Okay. And when I press enter, it's got created. And if I have to display it, I have to just say print now B underscore, and I can use this the control and the shift, the space bar. If I click on this, I get the list. If it is, let us for example like this, if suppose I have typed B and I want to know what are the different functions available under this, so I can just say control and space bar. I press that and I get the list. So from here I can just put tab and select this and press enter, and this is my output. Clear? So that is how you can create a data frame. Usually in R programming, we are not going to create data frames like this. In fact, what we are going to do is we are going to read the contents from a file. Especially, we are going to make use of CSV files and Excel file also. We'll try to take some examples of both of them, CSV and Excel file. Your CSV files are nothing but your comma separated values. Okay, a file which contains values which are separated by commas. Okay, or a space, or you can also use some other special character which is known as your delimiter. It can be a semicolon as well. Okay, so it depends, or it can be a tab. We will see that also. Okay, now coming to how we declare variables. Okay, now if I go to this environment here, okay, you can see this data has been created, a variable has been created. It has 3 objects in it, and how many variables? 4 variables in it. Okay, so it also shows you this. If I click on this, you can see this is my view. Okay, that's the how your data frame is looking like. Fine, it has how many? 3 objects and 4 variables. Clear? Let me close this again. But all your variables will be displayed in this window here whenever I create one. Now there are some rules we need to follow while creating or giving a name to the variable. Okay, and what does a variable do? It stores some value in it. Like last time I told you, whenever we create a variable or assign some value to it in memory, some space gets allocated, and it is referred to by that particular name which we give. Okay, and depending on the type of data which I'm storing, the size of the memory will be decided. Okay, so we'll come when we come to the other things, we'll check it out. So coming back to how you name a variable, your variable name can contain letters, numbers. Okay, and there are only 2 special characters which are allowed in case of R programming. The first special character which I have just now used while I was naming this particular data frame, you can see this one, the underscore, which I've used here. Okay, so underscore is one of the special characters which is allowed in giving a name. Okay, the second special character is a dot character. Okay, so if I want, I can also have a variable name with a dot in it. Okay, now I'll just quickly show you what are the different variables which are allowed and which are not. For example, if I want to declare a variable like this one, okay, where I have got an underscore. So first thing, this is valid. Okay, a variable with characters, it is starting with a character. Okay, you can say a letter of if you want. Okay, it does not have a number in this case, but I can have a variable like this. I can have, say, let us, for example, full name. So I can write full underscore name. Let us say full name 1. Okay, this is fine. I put a dot. This is also fine. No problem. Okay, a dot is allowed, numeric value is allowed, underscore is allowed, and character is allowed. Okay, it can be uppercase, lowercase. If you want, you can change that as well. Okay, so both lowercase and uppercase characters are allowed. This is valid. But if I, do it like this, if I write, say, F name, and I put a different sign, let us say I put a person sign. Now, this is not valid, okay, because your person sign is not allowed in case of R programming. Okay, in some of the, you can say, languages, you do get a person sign, which are there as a part of the variables and all, okay, which is not allowed here. Then this is going to work. F underscore name will work. Secondly, if I, go here and I just put a numeric value to F underscore name, okay, even this is not allowed, even though we have only characters, underscore, and a number, but you cannot begin the name of the variable with a numeric value. Okay, so and you cannot start the name of the variable with a numeric value here. So this will also give me a problem. So your variable to F underscore name is invalid. It cannot work, okay, because it's starting with a number. Secondly, if I want, I can start the variable with a dot. If I give a dot here, dot F name, okay, it is valid, no problem. Okay, it can start with a dot, but the dot should not be followed by a number. Please remember. So if I give a dot here, I cannot write 2 here. This is invalid. Okay, a dot, if I give a dot, then it has to start with a character and not a number. Right? So a dot can be given at the beginning as well, or in between somewhere if you want. You can also write here f dot name. So I can remove this one. I can write f dot name. So this is again a variable which is allowed in R programming. Okay. Now, can I give underscore at the beginning? Let us give underscore here. Underscore f dot name. Okay. F dot name was valid, no problem. Underscore is a valid character that can be used in a variable name, which we saw, but I cannot start the name of the variable with underscore. So even starting the name with the underscore is not allowed here. Okay. So do not start the name of the variable with underscore. Fine. So these are some of, you can say, the ways in which you can give a name. You can provide a name to that storage, which is nothing but a variable name. Okay, so you'll find that we are going to make use of such names frequently. Do not use, just variable names like, X, or you can say A and B and so on. Okay, this is fine, in if you want to just quickly run that program and check it out. But basically speaking, whenever you're writing a professional program, see that your variable names are meaningful. Okay, do not create names which are just random characters like A1, A2 and all that stuff. Okay, please do not do that, because when you become more professional and when you hand over the programs to some other third party or something, just looking at the name of the variable, you should realize, or the person should understand, okay, what you're trying to store in that particular variable. Okay, for example, like when we gave this name here, gender, I know, okay, I'm going to store the gender of the person, or that in that particular record, this column will have the gender male, female. Okay, fine. Height, it makes sense. Weight, okay. Had I given here H, W, G, A, that doesn't look good. It doesn't look professional, you can say. But while running, see, our programming is going to just take anything, provided it's a valid name, okay, and execute and give you the output. Okay, but you need to take care of naming the variable properly. I hope it is clear, everyone. Any doubts here? Great.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So another thing, let's go ahead after the variable naming. The next thing is the assignment. We have seen only one type of assignment till now. And inside this, you can see while I created the data frame, I also use this equal to sign. This again, assignment which we can use, the equal to sign assignment. Okay, there's your leftward operator, which I said, this left arrow. Okay, so let me start with all the different types of assignments. So I'll just create one variable. Let us say variable dot one. Okay, this is my first variable, and this arrow which I am writing, the leftward, that is less than sign followed by a minus sign, which creates a left pointing arrow. It is also known as your leftward operator. Okay, and it's an assignment operator, especially which is used to store the values. Okay, like if I say some number, let us say I give 45 okay, so here you can see this variable has been created and it is storing 45 here. Okay, I'm not going to display it, I'll just show you how to do it. The second is if I want to make use of the equal to sign or the equal operator, so I can give var dot, say this time let us put 2 equal to, this time say 56. Okay, again a variable got created and it is storing 56 in it. The third type can be, I can give the value first. Let us give the value. Now this time let us create a vector. So to create a vector, I use C round bracket. Let us put some number here. So combination of say 45, 56, and 73 values. Okay, and this I can assign using my rightward operator. Rightward operator will have the minus sign first, followed by the greater than sign, which is, you can say, the right arrow. Okay, or rightward operator, and I can assign it to the variable, say var dot 3. Okay, here you can see variable 3. This is my variable, and this is the values it has. So 45, 56, and 78. Okay, and because these are numeric values, you can see this number. Okay, num, and the index position. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So as I said, in R programming, excuse me, the index usually starts with 1, whereas in C programming, if those who have already used C programming before, by default the index will start from 0. Clear? If I want to display all this, let us display it. I can use a print function. So print, let us say var dot 1. Okay, so I can just press enter. I get 45. Now, like print, we also have another function. Last time I was telling you, the cat function. Okay, now the cat function can, help me combine my print in the same, you can say continue multiple prints. If I have, say, multiple items to be printed. So the cat function is going to combine the multiple items into a continuous print output, you can say. Okay, so if I have to display something like using cat, I can give cat into round bracket. Okay, the first parameter, let us give as var dot 2. Okay, now this is a small v, so I'll remove this and put, okay, like this, equal to. Okay, now after this I'll give a comma. Okay, and I'll give, say, var dot 2, and let us include one more. I'll put /n. Now all those who are from C programming will understand what is /n. It is a new line character. That means if I want to go to the next line, I make use of the new line character /n. Okay, that is how /n works. And it has to be given in double quotes. I could have also given this year inside this, but then what would have happened is it would display this content first on the first line and the value on the next line. Okay, so here you can see when I press, you can see you get this var dot 2 from the string followed by this number. The value is 56, which is stored here in this variable. Similarly, I can have, say, cat again. This time I'll put var dot 3 equal to, I can give this, put a comma, give the name of the variable which you want to display, and I don't want to put a /n right now. I'll just press enter. Okay, like this. Now, where this /n is going to help me is when I'm having multiple commands together and I'm executing that. Now, because I'm using console here, /n doesn't matter at all. Let us quickly create a script file. So I'll say new file. Okay, this is my script file. Let us write the print functions here. So I give print into bracket var dot 1. Okay, next I write cat. Okay, cat, then I put var, let us put 2 now, equal to, comma, var 2, and now I'll put this /n. So now you can see the effect also. Then the next one, cat, var 3 equal to, comma, var dot 3. Okay, comma, and I also give /n, so a new line character. Okay, now if I have this 3 statements, now I have not got this outputs here. Okay, I'll just increase. Let us run this. So I'm going to run this whole thing. Either you can select all this like this and run, click from this option here, run. Okay, fine. So either you click on run directly, but the problem here is it is going to run only one line. Okay, If I want to run multiple commands, then I have to select that all and then press this key here. And here you can see in my output, I have got the answers. Okay, so it is executing this and I'm getting this answer here in the console. Fine. Even though because it is executing one at a time, and that's the reason you're getting this outputs one at a time. Okay, in the console as well. Fine. But remember, it's going to help me, display the values. Multiple string get concatenated. You can see this one parameter, this is the second one, and this is the third one. And that's how it is working. Now, I don't want to use this right now. I'll close this, don't save it. Fine. Okay, if I want to clear my console, it's I can press Control L. It clears your console as well. Okay, so all the outputs which were there, which were getting confused, so we have removed that. Okay, Control plus L. That is how you can delete, clear the console. Okay. Now, if I want to know the list of, there are some functions, let us quickly go through that. Like if I want to find the different variables which are there in my, your workspace, okay, we can make use of a function called ls. Okay, so if I have to find out print, I can give ls round bracket like this. And when I press enter, now you can see these are my variables. Okay, the list of variables which are also displayed here also. You can see this one here. Okay, so if I want to know or I want to display the list of variables which I have, I can make use of the ls function. Now, those who have done Unix, in Unix, we have this ls function there. Okay, it displays all the list of files in that particular directory. Okay, so ls is coming from there. Okay, if suppose there's one more option, which is very interesting. Now, there are some hidden files as well, or hidden variables, or you can say system variables, which are created by our programming itself. So if I want to know those variables, okay, then we can do that as well. Now, in this, I can also give a pattern if you want, or if I want to display all the values, like for example, if I give, print into round bracket ls. Now, ls will take a, you can see some parameter as well. In the previous example, I did not pass any parameter. Okay, now you can see this, we have this option here, all dot names equal to false. That is the default value. If I say all dot names equal to true, okay, and then run this. Okay, I don't have any system variables right now. Okay, might be the global variables were deleted or something like that. Clear. If I want to clear the variables, there's one nice way of doing it. You have to just come here, clear the objects from the workspace. Okay. Now it says it is going to, clear all the objects, remove all the objects from the environment, and this cannot be undone. And this is one more thing which is important. Okay. Includes hidden objects. So there are some hidden objects. If there are hidden objects, even that gets, removed from my environment. Now, this is what I did last time, and that's the reason I'm not getting the hidden variables. So if I remove the stick, I'll keep the hidden objects. If I keep this, put that checkbox checked and click on yes, you can see this environment is cleared now. Okay, and now when I say print ls, okay, nothing I have. Okay, you can see the output is characters here. Fine. Now you can also, do it from the command prompt, the console prompt, instead of, going and clearing from here. If I want to create, let us create two variables quickly and assign some values. Where dot say 2 equal to something. Okay, I've created two. Now, if I want to remove only one of them, okay, so I do have a function called rm. Okay, now rm can also remove all the variables or one of the variables. So if I give rm into round bracket, say where dot say 2 I want to remove. Okay, I press enter. Okay, you can see this is gone. where 2 is gone. And if I print ls, okay, I have only one variable. Okay, this can also be done, or you can also make use of, let us create one more fast. Okay, I'll create one more. Okay, and I want to remove all of them. If suppose you don't have the option of RStudio, you want to run the command and remove all of them together, then you can do that as well. I can say rm into the round bracket. Let us say list list equal to, and I can give ls here. So all this list of, you can say, variables will be stored in this variable list list, and that whole thing will be removed. So when I press, you can see this is empty now. Okay, so this is how you can either delete or remove one variable from the environment, the global environment, or you can, if you want, you can remove everything from this or clear the whole environment. Now this is required especially when you are working on projects. Sometimes what happens is you are writing some other project and you come and try to use that variable, and because it was already there in the environment, it uses the value which is stored in that particular variable. Okay, and that can happen. So it's better that you first clear the environment whenever you're working on a new project or a new file. Okay, if you want to make use of the variables which are already there, and then it's fine. You can use the same variables again and access the value which is stored in that variable. Fine. Then coming to the next topic, the operators. Let us look at the operators which are allowed in R programming. And the first type is your arithmetic operator. Arithmetic operators are very simple. Your plus, minus, sign, and all that. We'll look at into that also. Then second type is your relational operator. Then we have this logical operator, which is there. Then assignment operators, we have just seen how to do the assignments. And we also have some other types of operators which are known as your miscellaneous operators. Clear? Let us look at the arithmetic operator first. Quickly, we'll do some calculations, and I'll write sum, or let us put S because I want to do it very quickly, equal to, let us say 3 plus 5. Okay, so this is my addition. I can do the addition like this. The plus sign will help me to the addition like any other programming language. And in any, you can say, even on your calc, when you do this calculation, you'll be using the plus operator. What if I have two vectors? Let us create two vectors here. Say v1. Now, I told you not to use such type of variables, but I'm using it right now because let us say I have some 1, 2, 3. Okay, I've created this. I have 2 v2. Okay, and in this again I put put the value. Say this time I'll put 5, 6, 7. Okay, and here I write v is equal to, or you can give the left word operator as well for assignment, and I write v1 plus v2. Okay, will this work? So I have given the plus arithmetic operator v1 plus v2. What is going to happen? Whether it is going to perform the addition or it's going to give me an error. Anyone?
Addition, sir.
Addition. Okay, how the addition is going to happen in this case? Any idea?
So first index number as a
exactly.
1 plus 5.
So what is going to happen? Right. Excellent answer. And what is going to happen? It is going to look at the reference, the indexes of both the, you can say, vectors. Okay, in the first vector v1, you can I'll just show you here. Okay, it starts from 1 to 3, right? So the first index position will get added to the first one of the next one. So v11 will get added to v21. Okay, and I'll get the output as 6, then 8, and then 10. Okay, so if I run this, okay, and you can see the answers here itself, but I want to print it on the screen here. So I press this, you can see this 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so addition is happening in case of vectors also, but it will refer to the index positions, and similarly it is going to add it up. Okay, so we can perform vector addition as well. Okay, we can add vectors as well. Clear? Secondly, we can also do subtraction. Like similarly, I think I need not do this, or let us quickly do it. Say V1 minus V2. Okay, even this can be done. And I can print V. Okay, that's my answer, which I'm getting. Okay, now the values which I'm getting, because 5 minus, sorry, 1 minus 5. So we get -4. Okay, that is the reason I'm getting the negative values here. Okay, and then we can do regular subtraction also is possible, which is understood. And then we have this multiplication sign. Now, those who are not from programming background, if I have to multiply two values, let us do a simple calculation. Let us put S equal to, and I have, let's do one thing. I'll use one vector, so V1, and multiply this by 3. Now, in this case, what is going to happen? Now, it is going to multiply each element in V1 with 3. So if I do this, you can see this has been created here. So 1 multiplied by 3 got me 3, 2 multiplied by 3 got me 6, and 3 by 3 got me 9. Okay. So when I print this S, I get 3, 6, and 9. Okay. So multiplication sign is an asterisk sign in all programming languages, irrespective of whether using R, Python, C, C++, VB, VB.NET, anything. You name the program and you'll find that asterisk sign is considered to be a multiplication, you can say, operator, arithmetic operator. Okay. Now division is a forward slash. So if I have say V, let us say V3 this time, and I'll use the arrow. Okay, and I use say 4 divided by say 8. Okay, and I print this value V3. Okay, 0.5. So regular division is happening. Now in C programming, what would have happened? The answer would have been 0. Okay, because there it stores only the integer number, because both the values are integer. Okay, both the values are integer. That's why it will store integer value, but that is not the case in R programming. Okay, we have less time in hand. I want you all to rejoin again, please. I'll stop the meeting. I'll stop the share as well. I want everyone to rejoin.